If you could see the world through my eyes, vibrant purple sunrise, shards of broken dreams come raining down.
Mark here, Life and Fitness Files. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with content. Today, we're going to be talking about plantar fasciitis, how to prevent it, as well as how to mitigate that if you're already dealing with it. So plantar fasciitis, this is something that I had dealt with in the past. It made it very difficult to run. Not only run, I could barely walk. It was very painful and actually very frustrating. So if this is something you are dealing with, I definitely understand how that feels. It's not fun and something you want to try to mitigate as quickly as possible. If you're anything like me, you want to be active. So a few tips to help you through that process, as well as ideas for making sure to prevent that from happening as much as you can. If you're already dealing with plantar fasciitis, a really good idea is to make sure you are stretching the bottom of your foot. One of the things I like to do is pull my toes forward and pull my toes backwards just to really stretch my foot and give it some movement. I'm going to demonstrate with my barefoot shoes, which we'll talk about more here in a minute. But when I have my foot, I'm sitting down, I like to pull back on my toes, stretching this bottom part of my foot. Sometimes it feels really tight, but I also like to pull those forward just to stretch different muscles in my feet, because sometimes what we think is plantar fasciitis could be something else that's tight or not working correctly or strained. Pulling my toes back while sitting and pulling them forward while sitting. Something that I have found useful when dealing with plantar fasciitis. Another way to deal with plantar fasciitis is a lacrosse ball. Some people put it in the freezer so it's cold. That's a preference that you can make. Put it on the ground and roll the bottom of your foot. Sometimes it's painful, and if you do it and you don't have plantar fasciitis, sometimes it can still be painful because the bottom of our feet get really tight. I like to use the ball to make sure I'm getting the outside of my foot, the inside of my foot, and all over the place, because if you can loosen up that muscle group at the bottom of your feet and on the sides, it's really going to help relieve some tension and hopefully also prevent future issues. Additionally, you can use heat and ice. Sometimes I alternated. It really comes down to what works the best. Heat tended to help it during the day. Sometimes I would ice it just to have the pain go away. So it really depends on what your goals are, how much time you have. A nice little heat pad I would use while sitting at a desk. I did find that useful. So those are a few things to help battle when you have plantar fasciitis. Another thing to keep in mind is that oftentimes people want to fully rest, and I went through that phase. But what I found was that I actually wanted to use my feet, actually helped me recover faster. You have to be careful with this. Make sure that you're stretching and make sure that you are being safe and not overdoing it. Inactivity actually shortens that muscle and makes it get more irritated. You want to actually use that with caution. If you're not sure and you're stuck, go see a physician and find a PT that can really help you and knows what they're doing. I was able to battle it by myself, but that may not always be the case. Another stretch that you can do is really stretching your calves, because that is going to connect to your heel and to the bottom of your foot. So don't overlook calf stretching before, after activity, as well as when you are dealing with that pain already. So let's talk about a few things that can help prevent this from happening in the first place. Stretching in general is going to help that. Like I said, stretching your feet, pulling toes forward, pulling toes backward, stretching your calves. Those are things that are really going to help. The other thing is stretching your legs in general, because a lot of things can get out of whack all the way up through your hip that can affect your feet and vice versa. So you want to make sure that you are stretching before activity, after activity, and on a regular basis. The other thing to keep in mind is that it's not always tightness caused because of inflexibility or lack of stretching. There can be pain and tightness because of weakness. You want to make sure that you are strong from your foot up through your leg to your knee, all the way up to your hip, because that chain makes a huge difference. You want to have strong glutes, because if you are not using your glutes when you're walking or running, that's going to impact how you walk, how you run, and it can then lead to things like plantar fasciitis. So you want to make sure that you are strong all the way through the chain that impacts walking and running. Another really important area to focus on is your feet and the strength within your feet and toes. This might sound like something that seems kind of odd. Okay, strength in my feet, but that is going to help prevent foot issues. It's going to help you to walk with the correct gait and walk on the correct part of your feet when the strength of your feet is balanced and strong, so you can support proper movement and function. So you can do things with your feet like grabbing things with your toes and doing toe curls. That's going to help strengthen your feet and your toes. You could grab something like a towel with your toes. You can grab something like marbles or small objects with your toes and get used to that. If you are not used to that, that can seem really difficult to do at first. Some other strengthening exercises you can do is just pointing your feet and coming down while sitting or standing. This is going to help strengthen your toes, but it's also going to strengthen up your leg chain through your calves. You want to have strong calves because that's going to directly impact your feet. So doing some calf raises and different exercises that work both the front and back of your lower leg. You can also do things like toe splays, so your feet get used to spreading and coming back. A lot of people cannot spread their toes very far, partially because we are stuck inside of our shoes all day and they're not very strong. You can also do some different isometric things with your feet, pushing your toe down into the ground and holding for 10 seconds, release. Hold, release. You could even do that with individual toes, not just your big toe, but all the toes. And different toes are not going to be as strong. When you are having a proper form, you want to be able to push off through your big toe. If your feet are not strong enough to have good form, you'll be doing things on the outside of your feet, inside of your feet, have weird form, and can cause a lot of different pain with plantar fasciitis or other things. And as I referenced earlier, barefoot shoes. These are zero shoes. There were studies that were done that show foot exercises for strengthening feet, compared it to wearing zero shoes or barefoot shoes. And they actually showed that wearing barefoot shoes helped build foot strength nearly, if not as much, as doing foot strengthening exercises. So I highly recommend getting some barefoot shoes. These specifically are zero shoes. They're very versatile. I have another video showing the benefits and why I like them. This has a nice big toe box so that your toes can spread out and build strength and individual toes. That's going to help prevent issues. One bit of caution: if you are going from highly padded cushioned shoes to zero shoes, you want to make sure that you don't jump into it too fast, because it can cause plantar fasciitis with overuse. So you want to make sure that you ease into it. But once you get rolling, it's going to help with your stride, your form, and build foot strength all throughout your foot, all including your ankle and into your calves, and it's going to help you to prevent further issues and walk how you are meant to walk, and it can then lead over into your running form. So highly recommend barefoot shoes. These are zero shoes, but any brand out there, but there are many brands out there that you can check out. So plantar fasciitis, lots of things you can do to prevent this: building foot strength, wearing barefoot shoes, stretching your feet and your calves. And once you're dealing with that issue, you want to make sure that you're stretching. You want to use a lacrosse ball that really helps stretch the bottom of your feet. Heated ice can definitely help, but in my experience, making sure that you are still using those muscles and strengthening those safely at the same time, it's actually going to help you get past that problem faster. So hopefully this video helps you on your fitness journey. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with content. Here's to life and fitness. Peace out.
Afraid of what you might lose, walking miles in someone else's shoes.